Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Teague's Take NFL pregame show. Second time we're doing this thing. It was so much fun the first time, George. We just had to do it again. And we've got our special guest analysts once again this week. Mr. Clancy Pendergast, defensive coordinator extraordinaire. And, of course, Coach Glenn Stretch Smith will be with us. First, I believe Clancy's coming on second with us, and it is a super wild card weekend, as they call it here in the NFL, because we have not the normal 4 wild card games in the league this week or this season, George. With the expanded playoffs, we have 6 wild card games, 3 today, 3 tomorrow, and we've kind of talked about these matchups off the air a little bit, George, and lots of exciting games coming up. Nope, I can't hear you. Are you muted? You might be muted.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
I forgot to hit this button sooner or later.
There it is.
I am super excited about this weekend, man, because there are some dynamic games, some exciting ones, and just listening to all the hype in the pregame to just see when players really – this is the time when guys want to shine. They want to try to solidify the new contract, the new deal. They want to make the big play because there's not very many games on at the same time. You get one game during that hour. And so all eyes are on these players. And so, coming up first here soon, right? Those Buffalo Bills, man, I'm itching to see what Josh Allen is going to do. I'm looking forward to tomorrow to see what those 2 running backs from the Cleveland Browns, are they really going to be able to just roll through the Steelers again? Juju talking noise, trash again.
Yeah, again.
So what's that going to be like? So I'm really pumped and stoked about this weekend, brother.
So from a player standpoint, George, you played I know you played in at least one with the Cowboys against Minnesota back in the day. By the way, you had some memorable moments in that Minnesota wildcard playoff game as you ran down one Amp Lee as he caught a pass over the middle, ran away from his defender, but you came across the field from the other side and ran him down and punched the ball out of the back of the end zone to nullify the would-be touchdown and give your team a chance. But from a player's standpoint, how many or how differently do you get up for a wild card game or a divisional round game than you do for just a regular season football game?
Yep. Now, people will try to tell you that it doesn't make a difference, but it does. Right. Once you get in the playoff games, I think the mindset becomes so much different that you're focused to detail. And again, I know it's because you say, well, you should do that every single game, but it's just something when you're the only game on. It's no difference than playing the national championship in college. When you go into playoff rounds, you're being evaluated different. That's something, with the office looks at, hey, how does he play in the big game versus the division game versus the division game. So it's super important. These guys are stoked. They're eating better than they ever thought. They're stretching more than they ever have. They got a new playlist. They got all the stuff that they need to try to get ready for these games today and tomorrow.
And we've got some interesting twists this wild card weekend because of COVID. Of course, the Browns missing their head coach. And, I would have thought that they'd allow him at least to be part of the game. Missing it, maybe remotely helping out the team, being on the headset. But apparently, from what I've seen, the NFL's not even letting him be involved up to the point of an hour before the game. He has to cease all contact with coaches and players. Whether it's, radio on the headset, sitting in the parking lot. Like, I've got a story about Sean Payton and the Bounty Gate back in the day that I won't break here on the air or anything, but we'll talk about that later. But, I would have thought they'd at least let him be part of the game, but apparently you can't even talk to the team when this is the situation.
Well, they don't want him to cheat because you can sit there, you're seeing the replays on TV, you're listening to radio broadcasts, maybe you telling them to make that challenge because you don't get to see those replays perhaps in the stadium, but you might see it on television. So I think I can understand it from that standpoint that it can give you a different advantage. I mean, shoot, when I had COVID and I was at home just with these high school games and I was watching it stream here, you get frustrated and you want to say something, and it was easy to, text someone or do something, say, hey coach, just what we're doing. And that I don't know if that's a good advantage to have. The Alabama Nation, man, he makes a good point there too, saying especially the way that you can hear the calls on television and what they're saying, that maybe people are,
Sure.
sending messages live time during the game. So
right. We've also got a game on tomorrow that's going to be on a children's network.
What?
Yeah, have you not heard about this? That the Saints and Bears, excuse me, are going to be broadcast on the Nickelodeon network with children that are proprietary to that network, I guess, doing play-by-play. They're going to have superimposed like cartoon heads on the players and googly eyes on the players during close-ups, like when they score and stuff.
Really?
And they're going to have the famous Nickelodeon slime superimposed in each end zone so that whenever a player runs in there, jumps in there, whatever, it shows the slime splashing and everything. Yeah, this is the thing, George. This is where the NFL is headed.
Because I know you, I don't know if you bullshitting me or if you what you doing here.
Unfortunately, this is the thing, and I get the NFL's kind of trying to I guess market themselves towards the younger generation who may not be paying a lot of attention to football or the NFL right now, but we'll get into that a little bit later too. But we want to go ahead and say welcome into the broadcast here now, Coach Glenn Stretch Smith, who's joining us via the stream. Coach Smith, how are you today?
I'm good, fellas. How are you doing today?
We're doing well. Welcome into the show once again. We've had you on before live and in person, and that was certainly a fun time. And George wanted to get you on here and pick your football brain a little bit about these 3 games we've got coming up today. Any special matchups today that stand out? We've got the Colts and the Bills, the Rams and the Seahawks, and the Bucks and football team. Any of those matchups stand out to you?
Well, I do think that Indy-Buffalo kind of, to me, I think that's a matchup that creates some issue for, Josh Allen. I mean, everybody is talking about Brian Daboll's kind of being the in vogue head coach interview right now because of the job that he's done with Allen. I think that Matt Eberflus on the other side of the ball from Indianapolis has really done a phenomenal job with their defense. Now, I know everybody, and George included, is probably going to say, boy, it's painful to watch Phillip Rivers throw the football. It pains me to watch him sit it up in the air that long as a safety. I know George would like to be playing back in those days. He'd go try to take a little challenge right there and pick that ball off. But I think that the matchup really is Indy's defense versus Buffalo's offense. And I do believe that that's the matchup of the day. that will be the best of these three. Initially, you think the Rams, and obviously what they've done this year. I just believe with Jared Goff with that thumb injury and surgery, I just don't see him being able to keep up with what Seattle can do.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting you say that, because as I was looking through the statistical data of these games, the teams Buffalo and Indianapolis are almost identical when it comes to different stats. The one thing that stuck out to me the most was that Buffalo had almost a 50% conversion rate on third down, which that's pretty stinking good, isn't it, Coach? To be able to.
Oh yeah, I mean, anytime, and you know that. I mean, that's a big stat to being able to win. Number one, time of possession, but number two, being able to maintain those drives. The other thing that I think you make an interesting point about Buffalo is that they're very good in the red zone. I mean, when they get in the red zone, and again, it falls on the quarterback. Anytime that quarterback can keep plays alive with his legs, he keeps his eyes down the field. It's a lot of the same thing that Russell Wilson does. I mean, when the field gets condensed and they have to, get plays to go a little longer, a half a second longer, be able to kind of hang on to that ball a little bit. Those are the times that it becomes very dangerous is in the red zone. And obviously those teams are able to get that done. You asked me about the other matchups, and I really like Washington's front seven. I think what they've done drafting of Payne and Fields, I mean, and then hiring of Jack Del Rio, who is a very good defensive coordinator. They are very formidable with their front seven. The problem is you get in nickel situations, people keep them in nickel, and then they just can't score. Washington is just so kind of handcuffed offensively. So I really do. I go back to what I think is going to be the best game of the game, which is Indy and Buffalo.
Yeah, and the way I see the Indy Buffalo matchup coming up, I think, of course, this is the Bills' first playoff game since the '95 season, which is astonishing to me. Like it's hard. We've had lots of failure here as Cowboys fans. But at least we've sniffed the playoffs and we've seen the playoffs a little bit. But they haven't even seen the playoffs since the '95 season. Jim Kelly, and I still see the Colts causing a few defensive problems, especially with the Bills' lackadaisical run game. They don't have a very strong run game, and of course the Bills. They depend a lot on Josh Allen's arm and big plays down the field. I think against the Colts, they've got a pretty good, strong zone defense. So I think the Bills are going to have to maintain long drives. I think they're going to have to eat up some clock and sustain some drives rather than hitting the big plays as they're used to doing throughout the season. But I'm still picking the Bills to win. I still think the Bills are the better team. And I really have zero confidence in Phillip Rivers at this point as a playoff quarterback. But, I guess we'll see. I just don't see him helping the Colts out at all.
Well, here's the thing, too, is, weather-wise, that always comes into play. I mean, and we always – everybody that's ever coached in the league, been in the league, understands that it's all cute when you can sling it around in an indoor 72-degree facility. Becomes a lot different when you have to go to Buffalo, when you have to travel to Green Bay. I mean, it's just a different animal, and you got to be able to say, hey, there needs to be times when we can line up in two tight ends, and even though we know and they know that we're going to run the football, there's still something said for imposing your will. And I get it. Everybody's enamored with the Madden. Boy, let's run this guy in zip motion. We'll run this. We'll run this zoom over here. We'll run this sweep fake, and we'll come back. Okay, all that's cute, except for when the wind's blowing about 30 and it's about 18 degrees outside.
Amen. I do not miss those days, brother. In Green Bay, and oh man, it's tough, especially if coming from an indoor facility, as you said, or from a warm weather position. So, and you kind of alluded to this, and I want to ask you about it a little bit more in depth with what you were saying about the Buccaneers and Tom Brady versus those front guys. I hear what you're saying about the having to go into nickel situations and maybe slowing their rush down a little bit. But, man, how do you think that matchup is going to look between, Chase Young's and already came out and started talking a little bit of trash that he's going to get after and he's going to go hunt. He's going to go hunt. So is that firing Tom Brady up, or is that making him get on edge if he starts getting hit a little bit?
Well, George, here's what I think. And when you watch Tom Brady, he likes to climb in the pocket. He likes to step into the pocket. And so the thought of Chase Young, coming off that edge, we know that, you can send the back that way, turn the protection that way. I think it's more going to be on Daron Payne and the front guys to get the push, to get the pocket pushed back into Brady's face. I was looking at some film. I don't know. It's been a few days ago, and watching Brady, because I really kind of thought, okay, people are going to start saying, when does Tom Brady slow down? When does it look like he's going to dial back? And George, when you still see him be able to climb into the pocket, fellas, he can still spin it into a tight window as good as anybody. When it becomes a problem for him is when that guy gets pushed up into his face, and then he has to say, uh-oh, now I got to kind of move laterally. And I think that's when his age, shows up. But, if they can keep that edge rusher off of him and anchor that middle a little bit, he'd be able to climb up in that pocket. We know what kind of weapons he's got. He's going to get the football out. He's going to be able to understand coverage, whether it's the leverage of the safeties or levels of the safeties or leverage of those corners. He can climb up and still make that throw. So I just I think that Washington just doesn't have enough offensively. But when you look and watch Tom Brady, fellas, again, we think that he's one of those guys that's going to start going to Luby's at 4:30 and eating dinner every day. I just don't see that right now.
That's the life I want right there, man, right now.
You don't go at 4:30, you go at 7:30 or something right before your podcast.
Are they still open at 7:30? I don't even know, man. I love me some Luby back in the day. That's a great reference, Coach.
Well, they got to go breakfast too, so might as well go in the morning.
All right, well, let's do that. So, Coach, as it appears to me, all of the pressure in this game is on Tom Brady and Bruce Arians to win. Washington football team, terrible division winner nonetheless. You make the playoff, you host a playoff game. Nobody expected them to be there. Nobody expects them to win this game. Chase Young's fired up. Alex Smith, from what I see, is going to go ahead and play, and he's probably their best chance to win. But, man, all the pressure is on Tom Brady and Bruce Arians here to win this game because, preseason, everybody expected them to win the Super Bowl when Tom Brady came over and signed. So they're under a lot of pressure to win this game.
Yeah, and I like the point you make. They do have all the pressure when you think about, Bruce Arians, how he came out this year, no risk it, no biscuit, whatever all that bullcorn was. Ultimately, they do have the pressure, and I think it really falls on, can Mike Evans play? We know that Brown can still run. We know that Gronkowski's a big target. He still understands how to get separation in those really tight windows and, getting his feet on people's toes and doing some of those things. But I think the comfort binky, as I say, for Tom Brady is Mike Evans. And if Mike Evans is able to play, they're going to take care of business. If he, is not at, I'm going to say 85%, and they can roll that coverage and move some things. And George can speak to this. Anytime you can do that and close off half of the field, it creates a problem for you. And then if that's the case, I do think Washington could kind of hang around here. But guys, they're not. I don't think Washington has enough offensively to win this game. But when you talk about Bruce Arians, what are you going to do? You're gonna kind of elongate your season 7 days into going and playing New Orleans in a building that they can they can do whatever they want to do. I just think it's one of those things where he is going to get the pressure on him, and it is going to fall on Bruce Arians and not Tom Brady because of what Tom Brady, I think, can still do. So we'll see, but I do think they handle Washington today, and then it's another conversation next week how they move forward in the playoffs.
So I'm seeing as of about 40 minutes ago, Ian Rappaport reporting that Mike Evans is going to play. 30 minutes ago, ESPN reported the same thing, but it looks like he's still hobbled a little bit by that knee. So he's not going to be 100%, but, a 75% Mike Evans out there is better than Mike Evans not being there for sure.
I agree. I mean, because and again, you talk about length and the comfort level of being able to throw the ball up, even when he's covered, knowing he can go get it for you, is something that Brady is going to be able to have that. I don't know of a better term other than that banky. He likes being able to get it out of his hand to that guy.
Yeah, a lot of people use the word safety valve, but I like banky better. Pretty good.
So, Glenn, why don't you tell us where you're at, man? You had me on your show, on your ESPN show, man. Why don't you tell everybody what they're doing and what you're doing and how they can tune in to you for those who know?
Yeah, well, it's I do a 3 to 4 Central broadcast on ESPN Central Texas. We call it your afternoon stretch. We kind of lead in, George. You'll appreciate it with a little Kenny G music. It's kind of that ease down, get yourself loosened up before you get into the drive time hour. We're heavy involved talking football, talking NFL football, talking Cowboys. Interesting with it, with what's going on with the Cowboys right now, and we'll be diving into all that stuff next week. And I like having my man George Teague on. I'm gonna twist his arm to try to get him on Monday going into the national playoff title game. So that's kind of where I'm at, and we have some fun with it, and I really enjoy, obviously, George, when you come on and you bring a little different perspective. I enjoy your a little bit of your take and a little bit of how you talk. It eases me down too. So it's a little Kenny G and then a little George Teague. Always kind of he kind of doesn't get too high, he doesn't get too low, and that's opposite of me because I'm one of those guys I'm either high as a giraffe's ass on a Ferris wheel or lower than whale poop. It's hard for me to get in between, and George helps me level out.
George has a very soothing voice when he's on the air. He does it as well, but he reminds me a lot of Coach. I don't know if you remember the old TV show back in the day, WKRP in Cincinnati. He reminds me of a Venus flytrap, the overnight guy that was on that radio station. That just the soothing sounds, the jazz in the background, and I
don't get fired up too much. And every now and again, when they're about to get teagued, I'll get riled up, and then it's on. But
you're exactly right. I mean, I do think that George has a little bit of that. I would call him, and he can get fired up because I've seen him, but about 90% of the time, he's more of the male Delilah. That's got Delilah. Keep you right there.
I've heard Delilah's name in years. That is awesome. Well, Coach, we appreciate you popping on here and spouting some of that knowledge, and we look forward to watching the games, and good luck watching the games today, and maybe we'll talk to you next week.
Hey, fellas, I appreciate you having me. Have a blessed day.
Thanks,
you as well. There he goes, Coach Clancy Pendergast. I'm sorry, Coach Glenn Smith. We're going to have Coach Clancy Pendergast coming on with us here for the second half. George, let's take a quick break and pay some bills here with our sponsors and be back on the other side. What do you think about that?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
We'll be back after this.
ProfoundSites.com for your personal and commercial needs. Websites built, repaired, secured, maintained, and found. Brent Thomas and ProfoundSites.com provide e-commerce development, website development, online marketing, web, mobile, and e-commerce consulting. With over 10 years experience, Profound Sites is responsible for creating GeorgeTeague.com, where you can hear Teague's Take with George Teague every week. Brent Thomas and Profound Sites can take you through the entire pain-free process of building your new website. From initial discussion to planning, design, to coding and making your site live and discoverable on the internet. Contact Brent Thomas at ProfoundSites.com or email him at brent@ProfoundSites.com.
Hey, sports and sports memorabilia fans, this is IndyCar Tim. I want to talk to you about our new friend Chris Gordon over at the Cowboy House, cowboyhousesports.com on the web. Now, Chris is super passionate about all sports, and that's why the Cowboy House is so much more than just a Dallas Cowboys sports memorabilia store. He's got unique game-used memorabilia and rare, hard-to-find autographs for teams across the globe. Everything from the NFL, MLB, NHL, NBA, golf, UFC, soccer, Olympics, even from Hollywood and the political sector. And his store isn't just a fancy mall store. It's more of a man cave that he likes to share with his friends and customers. Come on into the store at 209 South Shady Shores Drive, Suite 200 in Lake Dallas, and you can walk on the Texas Stadium end zone turf. You can sit in a chair from Yankee Stadium or Texas Rangers Globe Life Park. Check out hundreds of autographed jerseys from hundreds of teams. Check out thousands of photos signed with certificates of authenticity. He's also got custom framing for all of your sports memorabilia items. Chris Gordon over at cowboyhousesports.com, 214-551-5978. Thank you, Cowboy House.
Need a one-stop shop for Cowboys news happening over at the Star in Frisco? Click on over to cowboyssi.com, featuring Mike Fisher with 30 years experience covering America's team. It's the most popular of all Sports Illustrated sites and home to the Cowboys Blitzcast podcast. CowboysSI.com is the place to get inside your Cowboys. With such a talented team of writers and reporters over there, you'll always know the latest about personnel and roster moves, salary cap issues, and draft class status. Click on over to CowboysSI.com and get the inside scoop on America's team.
3R Sports Graphics. Hello, everybody. You've probably seen the graphics that are out on social media every week that announce the guest for Teague's Take for that week, as well as their credentials listed there on the graphic as well. Those come from our good friend Tyler Sanders over at 3R Sports Graphics. Now, he only works for schools, so we need to mention that. Some of his proud schools are Liberty Christian, Parish Episcopal, Legacy Christian, and Fort Worth Christian. These are custom graphics for your school's athletic department. Hire Tyler Sanders and 3R Sports Graphics, and you will work one-on-one with a graphic designer. You will get final score graphics the night of the game, unlimited graphics with a 1-year contract, and you can fulfill the sports information director role of a school, but for a fraction of the cost. And he will handle this for you every week. He puts it out on social media for you as well. He handles that. Give Tyler Sanders a call with 3R Sports Graphics, 713-933-9767, or you can shoot him an email, tsanders2405@gmail.com. Tyler Sanders, 3R Sports Graphics, on Twitter at 3R Sports and the number 1. And check out his Twitter feed. He's got all of the examples. You can scroll through his feed and look at all of the graphics as he's done for everybody. Tyler Sanders, 3R Sports Graphics. Give him a call now. Thank you, Tyler. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Teague's Take Podcast, the Super Wildcard Weekend pregame show. We want to welcome everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope /Twitter. And if you've downloaded this show and you're listening to it during the games, that's really weird because you should be watching the games. But, you know, we'll let you do whatever you want. We appreciate you tuning in. We'd like to welcome to the show now Coach Clancy Pendergast, defensive coordinator extraordinaire, here to talk about some of the Sunday games. Coach, how are you this morning?
Good. How you guys having? How you guys doing? I appreciate you guys having me on 2 weeks in a row.
Absolutely. Well, we had so much fun with you last week. George said, let's do it again. I said, that would be a great idea.
I actually like it because he's out there on the Pacific Coast time. So it's 9:25, 9:30 his time. So I had to get him up a little bit early, make sure he goes run, hits the treadmill, and all that kind of stuff. So we really do.
Especially on a Saturday morning, you know.
Yes, sir.
He hadn't even finished watching his cartoons yet. You had to break them away. Well, Coach, thanks for joining the show once again. Sunday's games, we've got, of course, the Ravens at the Titans, the Bears at the Saints, the Browns at the Steelers. Browns without their head coach for that game. In any one of those three games particularly stand out in your football head there?
Yeah, I'm interested to see that Tennessee Ravens game. You know, it's they've had some pretty good battles the last couple games, with Tennessee getting the best of Baltimore, you know, in the playoffs last year and then earlier here in the regular season. But you know, it's hard to beat somebody 3 times. So I think it's going to be an interesting game, and I think it'll be a defensive struggle that I'm looking forward to watching that game.
Yeah, I had this in my notes under this game. Is this the start of the Ravens revenge tour? because they're going to be wanting some revenge on the playoffs here, being so terrible the last couple of years.
Yeah, no doubt. It's really tough to beat somebody twice, but to beat somebody 3 times in a row is really, really hard. So if Tennessee can get that done, that's great for their football team and their organization.
Who's going to have more rushing yards, Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson?
That's interesting. That's interesting. I think Derrick Henry will, but Lamar's his passer rating the last few weeks has really gone up. He's throwing the football much better and demonstrating that he can stay in the pocket in certain situations and deliver the football down the field. But Derrick Henry's going to get his. There's not a lot of people that want to tackle that guy. So obviously, if you watch the highlights or watch their games, the first guy very rarely gets him down. So it's going to be important for Tennessee to close those gaps off and gang tackle him, and I think see if Lamar can beat him throwing the football down the field on a consistent basis.
Well, I will tell you that if I was playing against Derrick Henry, I would have taken out my defensive line, the linebackers, and everybody, paid for all their meals and told them, do not let this dude get in the secondary.
Yeah.
I do not need that stiff arm or whatever he got to hit you with.
Yeah, you don't want to be staring down the post in cover 3, looking at him spit through there, and he's got a 2-way go on you. He's probably just going to run right over you.
No, sir. Not good. Not a good feeling to have that happen. So speaking of running backs and the Cleveland Browns, you think they can put together something to, I don't know, rattle the cages of these Steelers? When you got 2 guys with Kareem Hunt and drawing a blank on the other guy's name, y'all help me real quick.
Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb.
Yeah, Chubb. I mean, you got the axe and smash going on right there, man. Can the Browns upset these guys and beat the Steelers?
I think it's going to be a little bit tough for them. They didn't practice all week. I think yesterday was their first day of practice. And, this late in the year, I know that a lot of people pair back and do more walkthroughs, and the players prefer that. But at least being in the building and going through the different looks and that type of thing, I think it probably helps them. They played the Steelers last week. At least they're familiar with the Steelers personnel. I'm sure the Steelers held a lot of things back in that game, knowing there was a good chance they would play them in the first round of the playoffs. But, I think the biggest thing you got to look at here is, not having their head coach and the offensive play caller and his rhythm that he's used to being in calling plays will be a little bit disrupted with him not being there. So I'm interested to see how that goes. And I'm sure the Browns within their internal, organization and team are kind of using that as a rallying cry. So I'm sure they'll come out ready to play. And it's been a long time since they've been in the playoffs. So it's a really big game for their organization and their team.
So did Juju stir up stuff again, or did they just go ahead and let this one roll off their back, the Browns, with Juju still coming out?
I'm sure there was a little bit of bulletin board material there with that. I'm sure it's not, if Coach Stefanski's having to do meetings virtually, I'm sure he's not going and letting that go unknown that Juju said there's just another Browns team. So both teams will be ready to play. Pittsburgh's obviously a veteran team, got a veteran quarterback, really good defense. They got a lot of skill on the offensive position, so they're playing at home. So I think it'll be a pretty good battle.
And Baker Mayfield has never responded well with guys in his face when he's got to throw the ball a lot of times. And man, I just see that defensive front with Pittsburgh getting all the pressure back there. And this could get really ugly. And trust me, I want the Browns to win. I'm a Browns fan. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Probably since they drafted Johnny Manziel, even though that didn't work out. But dude, I'm just as a Cowboys fan, I have to hate Pittsburgh. Okay, so we'll just get that out of the way. But so I'm a cheering for the Browns, but this could get ugly, and it could get ugly early. And like you said, Roethlisberger, the seasoned veteran back there, he's going to have a little more protection, a little more time to throw the ball, and this could be out of hand by halftime, in my opinion.
Wow. I hate what is the line though? It's got to be. It can't be that big, right?
3.5.
Yeah, and you want it to be out of hand? Like what's out of hand? Like 6 points or what?
Oh, 2 scores, 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
The Browns can't come back on the Steelers being down 2 scores.
Yeah, that's what I think. I'm going with. I think they're going to get a heavy dose of those running backs, regardless. And the defense just got to fly around like they did before and create some havoc and hit. And I think they'll be motivated again.
Yeah, they definitely got to run the football and keep that offense off the field because, you get in the playoffs against a seasoned quarterback like Ben, and he can get hot and score a lot of points in a hurry. So keeping him on the sidelines is the best place for him to be if you're a Cleveland Brown.
Yeah, especially since he seems to have flipped some kind of switch in Week 16, and he's come on the last few. So as poorly as he played during that 3-game losing streak that they had. Mm-hmm. But I hope you guys are right, man. I hope they can keep it close because, like I said, I'd love to see the Browns win a playoff game for the first time since Jesus was still walking the earth, it seems. But,
Well, I know one thing. The intensity level will be a lot higher than it was last week.
Sure.
The final regular season game. So, George, as you know, being an ex-player, everything seems to move a little quicker in the playoffs. So I'm sure both teams will be playing at a high level.
It does. There's any disadvantage to having to play on Saturday, from the coaching standpoint, you get a day less.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a short week and everything gets pushed up a day or two. And you probably got, one less full speed practice. And if you're the Browns, you didn't have any but one. But if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers or any other teams playing today, you're just one day short. And sometimes it's better. Sometimes I like a shorter week because you had really less time to really come up with something or, maybe try to add something to the game plan that you didn't necessarily need to do. You kind of dust off the one you had and don't tweak it too much and let the players go play fast in a short week where you lose a day or two.
How much stress does it put on you as a coordinator, though, as a play caller, though, if you haven't been able to see, what you want to try to execute, even though the Browns and the Steelers just played again? But is it important for you as a play caller to be able to see what you wanted to fix,
right.
Maybe things, wrinkles you need to add? How important is that for you to be able to see?
Yeah. As a coordinator, you're always trying to call a perfect game on first and second down and catch the runs when it's a run and catch the passes when it's a pass to get the players in the best possible defense that they're in to be successful. And, if you can try to be 80% in that category, you got a chance to play pretty good defense in a game. So, it just was in a shorter week, you spend a little more time. You probably drink a little more coffee during the day to make the nights a little bit longer to stay up and try to continue to perfect that process before a short weekend game.
So the middle game Sunday, the Saints hosting the Bears. The Saints are the biggest favorite of the wild card weekend. They've got a double-digit point spread here, -10 over the Bears at home. Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray didn't play in Week 17. I feel like that they should be back, though. How did the Bears make the playoffs, first of all? That's some of the worst football I watched during the regular season. But, credit to Trubisky because he seems to have also flipped a switch here late in the season. Not saying he's playing on a Ben Roethlisberger level, but he's playing better than he did, and they're playing well enough to have made the playoffs as a wild card.
The times that I've seen him play offensively, I don't know, I think it's 5 or 6 weeks ago, they made a switch in the play caller where Bill Lazor, the offensive coordinator, actually started calling the plays instead of the head coach. And they seem to have maybe scaled back some of the things they were doing offensively and maybe doing less at the line of scrimmage with checks. They kind of just get up there and run a play and they either go on 1 or 2 and see what happens instead of maybe having the quarterback try to get them in and out of too many things that can create some consternation with the offense. And unless you're really a well-oiled group and a veteran quarterback and a veteran group where you can change plays, run to pass to run at the line of scrimmage, it can be problematic at times when you got a younger group that's playing together. So, just the games that I've watched them, they kind of just seem to become going up there and calling their plays and running them instead of trying to get the perfect look. And Trubisky's played well. I mean, his completion percentage is high. There's no secret that he can make plays outside the pocket with his ability to move around. And So it's been very impressive on how they've played here down the stretch, and it's a real credit to not only the team but the coaching staff getting the players in the right positions.
Do you see them giving the Saints defense any problems here? Do you see this game being close?
When you look at the Saints, Ryan Nielsen, their defensive line coach, I think does an excellent job. And when you just watch their defense, their front is so physical and so athletic that I love the way they play. And, it all starts up front, and then they free the linebackers up, and their linebackers are extremely fast. They're really good at key and diagnosing between run and pass. So I really like the Saints defense. And I really like to watch them play because, they really, really play hard and run to the football. So, George, as you know, they you can see they probably do a lot of pursuit drills.
That's true. That's just true.
So it's I think it's a very good defensive unit. So I think they'll have their hands full, especially having to go to New Orleans. And we know what New Orleans can do offensively with I think they got a really good offensive line. They can run it. They can throw it. Sean Payton uses multiple personnel groups. It really keeps you off balance. And then they got a really talented group of skill guys, with the tight end and Cook and their receivers. They can be very problematic for a defense.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we had a Glenn Smith on a little bit earlier, who that you had some bypass with, and we spent a lot of time talking about the earlier games. And one that we really didn't hit on, Tim, that I kind of want to briefly touch on here just for a minute or two before we let Clancy go. It's about the Seahawks and the Rams, because you got some dynamics happening with, everything seems to be going around quarterback play right now. You got the young group and the old group and, who has to prove things and all that kind of stuff. But when I look at this game, I'm hearing Jared Goff is gonna play in the game, but does this game come down to the way that both of these quarterbacks play? Is it more on the defense or more on the offense or combination of both? Who pulls this game out, Clancy?
I think it's going to be a very close game. The last 6 games, Seattle's played, really well defensively. I think since the Arizona game, their points per game are down. They seem to be on the same page defensively, and kind of like what you've seen over the years of a Pete Carroll coach defense, playing more what you're accustomed to seeing. And the Rams defense, I think, is outstanding. They got a really good front. With Aaron Donald and Brockers and that crew up front, and then you got Ramsey in the secondary, who's going to match up on whoever they think the best receiver is, which can creates problems for the offense. But I heard a stat on TV that the last 100 passing attempts that Russell Wilson's had against the Rams defense, it's like 3 picks, in sacks within the teens. It hasn't been real impressive, and I think a lot of it has to do with the Rams defense. So to make a long story short, I think it's going to be a defensive struggle. They split both home games this year. They weren't real high scoring games, and both defenses played well. I mean, they just played each other 2 weeks ago, so you just kind of pull out that same game plan and like we talked about earlier, in a short week, just go out there and play fast, and they know each other well. I think the key component here, obviously, that you touched on earlier was the quarterback. Is Jared Goff going to play with that thumb? They execute more than 50% of the time offensively under center. So, taking that snap under center with a bad thumb, the ball is going to come up in the pressure point of the right hand, and it's going to hit his thumb every time. And, how's that going to affect how he throws? Now, if he's not in there, the backup quarterback, Wolford, is as you saw in the game last week, kind of an unknown, but he can execute the zone reads and scramble and do things that maybe Jared Goff can't do as well because he's more of a pocket passer. So if you're sitting there and you're the Seahawks, you got to kind of prepare for both and be ready to collapse the pocket with a guy that can move around, but also kind of pin your ears back and let your rushers rush and for more of a dropback style quarterback than Jared Goff. So, the real question is going to be, I think, just like I mentioned, how are both defenses going to play, and is Russell Wilson going to have the games like he had earlier in the year? The longer you get tape, you play 16 games, they're looking at all 16 games. You play 5 games, you only got 5 games to look at. So the longer the season goes on, you can kind of see where offenses are going and where their tendencies are. And particularly this time of year, when you can get enough tape on somebody, you get a pretty good feel for what they do and don't like to do.
Yeah, I think this was the only game that I picked on our other show on Wednesday night when we did our picks and predictions. I think this was the only game I picked for an upset for the underdog to win. I got the Rams beating the Seahawks today.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game. I think, of all the games this weekend, it's another one that I'm really excited to watch.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, just seeing the way the defense will play, the yardage per game, I know it's not scores on what you're saying, but it's a 100-yard difference, that Seattle's giving up. When you get a healthy Cam Akers in there, especially if your quarterback's a little bit dinged up, man, I think he could be an X factor for the Rams to, maybe control the ball a little bit. And as you're saying, with it being a defensive battle, who wins that battle between Cam Akers and there goes forgetting the running back's name for the Seahawks again, Chris Carson.
You're old.
That's part of it.
It's kind of like what I mentioned earlier, with Ben, the best place for the Rams defense is going to be to have Russell over on the sideline. So I think you bring up a good point, George. Running the football, controlling the clock, playing good defense, and don't let Russell get out there because, they have probably, just on the tape that I've looked at, he's one of the best play action deep shot throwers in the league and very accurate down the field. And, Metcalf is, we know what kind of athlete he is and how fast he can run. And, him and Ramsey will be a great matchup to watch throughout the day today.
Ramsey put out his tweet. No, you're not really on Twitter like that, but Ramsey put out his tweet about all of the shutdown he did, and one of them that he highlighted was on how well he did against DK Metcalf the last time. So that might turn into an old, nice little battle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. DK's kind of fallen off here the last few games of the week, so we'll see how that matchup works out.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you popping on here with us and reviewing some of these games and spreading your football knowledge and your defensive expertise. Maybe we'll do this again next week after the wild card round's over and preview some of those divisional rounds. How would you like that?
No, I'd love to and appreciate you guys having me on anytime.
All right. As long as it's not on Saturday, do it on Sunday morning. Appreciate it, Coach.
Hey, any time of the day, George. Anything for you,
Thank you, man. I really do appreciate it. Best of luck to you, bro.
Thanks, man. You guys have a good rest of the day.
There he goes, Coach Clancy Pendergast, defensive coordinator extraordinaire. This is Teague Sake. We're going to take one more quick break, pay some more bills, and we'll be back right after this.
Increase time inside your home, noticing all the little things needing attention? Let Repair Resource be your one trusted contractor to tackle all of your home repair needs. They do it all: electrical, plumbing, drywall, painting, and flooring of all types. They can even handle your exterior needs, like fencing, patio covers, concrete pads, and decking. No job too big or small. Repair Resource does it all. Call them at 972-415-1198 or visit them online at www.repair-resource.com.
Hey, this is IndyCar Tim. I want to talk to you about the Maverick Bar and Grill in Carrollton, Texas. It's North Dallas's premier sports bar and grill located at 1616 West Hebron Parkway. It's 16 minutes from just about anywhere in the DFW Metroplex. With all of the live action on dozens of TVs and the big screen, it's the place to hang out and watch the return of sports with all your friends. Friday and Saturday nights, you'll find the best live music in DFW right there at the Maverick Bar. And of course, on Thursday nights at 6 p.m., you'll find Teague's Take broadcasting live with Alabama and Cowboys legend George Teague. Come hang out and be part of the show. Check out the Maverick Bar and Grill in Carrollton, 972-492-7500, or on the web at themaverickbar.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the pregame show, Super Wildcard Weekend here on Teague's Take. We want to say special thanks to Coach Clancy Pendergast for just popping on, talking about the Sunday games with us. A little bit earlier, if you missed it, we had Coach Glenn Stretch Smith on with us, talking about the Saturday games. And both coaches brought out some really good points about these games. George, you want to review these? Maybe do some picks here for the 6 games this weekend.
I know, because they've kind of made me teeter a little bit on what I was thinking before the show.
All right,
with some of the points they've made. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
so let's go first. Colts at Bills, because that's the first game here, starting up here in about 15 minutes. Bills hosting their first playoff game since 1996 for the 95 season. That is hard to imagine. The Bills are my Super Bowl favorite out of the AFC, so of course I've got the Bills beating the lowly Colts and Philip Old Man Rivers.
Yes, sir. I got the Bills winning this one too, and I didn't look at the final thing here to see if Diggs and Beasley were.
Yes, they are playing.
Yeah, and then I don't see how the Colts can. I do understand about Jonathan Taylor, and they're probably going to try to run the ball and slow that offense down of the Bills. But I think once they get up, it's going to force Phillips Rivers' hands to have to throw the ball. And as they said, and you know how I feel about that, I don't think he can pull it off with his arm.
Second game of the day, 3:40 Central Time. Seahawks hosting the Rams. Can Jared Goff salvage his disappointing season? I say yes. I have the Rams upsetting the Seahawks in Seattle because with no fans there is no home field advantage there at CenturyLink or whatever it's called now.
Oh, yes. At first I was on the bandwagon or whatever with the Seattle deal and going home, but I think I flipped my decision now since I didn't have it posted anywhere. I can do that, right?
Flip-flop, sure, why not?
So yeah, I'm going with Cam Akers actually, and they're not necessarily Goff on this one.
Then the game tonight, 7:15 Central Time. Football team hosting Tampa Brady and Bruce Arians. All the pressure, as we talked about on Tom Brady. I can't even say his name right after I just said Tampa. On Brady and Arians. However, football team is just such a terrible team offensively. I don't see them doing much here, unfortunately. And it pains me to say this, but I've got the Bucks beating Washington.
Man, I know. We're always trying to find that one to pick, and boy, I was sitting here like the football team's gonna do it, man. They're gonna come in, they're gonna cause some havoc for these guys. But I'm with you. I just don't think they have enough. I think it's gonna be maybe a little bit closer, a little bit more struggle than we think it should be. But I think Tom Brady puts on his magic, and they get another week to at least talk about it before we say what a failure the Bucks had because they didn't win the Super Bowl with all the talent they got.
And I bet you we do say that at some point because I don't see that happening. Tomorrow's game, Sunday, 12:05 Central Time. The Ravens visiting the Titans once again. Lamar Jackson's revenge tour, the Ravens' revenge tour in the playoffs after getting bounced early last season. I don't see it going well for the Ravens, George. I don't see Lamar getting that first playoff win. The Titans are just too strong defensively. I know Jackson's played well. His quarterback rating has been great the last couple of weeks, but not against Tennessee. I've got Tennessee winning this game going away.
I got you with that one too. I totally agree with that. I think it's just too much. There are some bright spots for the Ravens, but I think with the Titans defense and some of the playmakers that they have, they're more balanced. There's more things that the Titans can do that the Ravens can't, and I think that's going to give the Titans the win.
The middle game on tomorrow on Sunday, the Bears at the Saints. By the way, this game, as we brought up at the beginning of the show, also on Nickelodeon with children play-by-play. And I was looking at it a little bit more. Apparently, Von Miller is hosting the SpongeBob SquarePants Countdown Special and will be joined by Jim Nance and Tony Romo, who I guess are calling the game for CBS. Will feature a special halftime sneak peek of Camp Coral, SpongeBob's Under Years, which is a yet-to-be-released show that that follows SpongeBob SquarePants' activities as a 10-year-old sponge. I'm sorry, I've seen that show. I thought he was already a 10-year-old sponge. I was not aware he's an adult sponge. But it's going to feature Nickelodeon-themed elements throughout the show, special halftime presentation, guest reporters, on-field graphics, virtual filters, and more. And there was a picture here on the article from Sporting News that I saw where it looked like somebody was kicking a field goal, and there's a big superimposed image of SpongeBob between the goalposts, and he just eats the ball as it goes through the goalposts.
Dude, well, first of all, I can see you and JT are very similar to this because he loves SpongeBob and Nickelodeon and all that kind of stuff, and I bet he's going to be all into that. But this is another reason why the pandemic has to get away because we're doing this. I already had to watch the game on Amazon Prime. Now you're telling me to tune in to Nickelodeon to catch some professional football. Man, it just times are different, brother. Times are different.
I don't think I get Nickelodeon. I have Hulu Live. That's my TV service. I don't even know if I have Nickelodeon. If I do, I'm definitely going to be tuning in for some of this at least. It'll be really good. It'll be entertaining. Hey, it's for the kids. Let's get the kids involved in some football. But I've got the Saints handling up on the Bears. I believe their defensive line and their offensive line are going to dominate the Bears. And again, I got the Saints winning this one easily.
I think that's a route. I guess the only question is, do you think they cover the spread?
Our spread, which we had at 10 points. Yes, I think they cover.
All right, me too.
I've got like a 37-21 win or 37-17, something like that by the Saints. So yeah, they'll cover that. And then the final game of the Super Wildcard weekend, the Browns visiting the Steelers, 7:15 Sunday night. Did Ben Roethlisberger flip that switch in Week 16? Is this the old Ben that we're used to seeing in the playoffs? Stefanski, of course, is out with COVID, not allowed to be part of the team at all. Can't talk to the team up to an hour before the game. His communication has to be cut off, so he'll be able to help with the team pregame, but he's got to be done up to an hour before the game. So, again, I talked about this earlier with Clancy. I really want the Browns to win. I will be cheering for the Browns. I might even put on my Johnny Manziel Browns jersey for this game. And yes, I do own a Johnny Manziel Cleveland Browns jersey, as you can probably imagine, George, as you shake your head and roll your eyes.
Dollar store, Dollar Tree, or where'd you get that?
NFL.com the day after he was drafted by the team, sir. I did not pitch out the $225 for the genuine NFL. I did the replica one for like $80.
All right.
I think I've worn it twice.
Well, you don't need to pull it back out again because I know you're saying you're taking the Steelers on this one, but I'm going against you. I don't have any Steelers uniforms, but this is my upset. I think the Browns are going to come out and they're going to do it. They're still going to be fired up. They're going to find enough energy. They got their backs against the wall, all the naysayers, and these are those ones where stuff just happens.
Right.
And can Baker Mayfield do it? I don't know. I'm not just going to root for him. I'm going to go. I'm taking him to go ahead and I'm putting all of it on Chubb and Hunt. Let's go get it, baby. Let's go get it.
Man, I would be all about that, and I hope you're right because, like I said, of course I hate the Steelers. I'm a Cowboys fan. As a matter of fact, this little thing that I'm wearing right here,
yes, sir,
is from that Super Bowl. Cowboys win over the Steelers, and of course their most recent Super Bowl. We don't have to talk about that. as long ago as it was. We made fun of the Bills, but good God, Cowboys aren't much better off. So, yes, I've got the Steelers. You've got the Browns. Everybody tune into Nickelodeon to watch the Bears and the Saints because that's going to be amazing. Can't wait for that. But big weekend, George. Super wild card because, again, we've got 6 games, not just the normal 4. And some really good matchups. I still think that football team and Bucks game is going to be close. Of course, Bucks winning it, but I think that's going to be more entertaining than we think, along with the Rams and the Seahawks today. But these pregame shows that we do are a lot of fun. Maybe we look at doing one again next week. We'd have to look at
maybe. I think we go ahead and book it. We know it's going to happen. Y'all just need to be ready for it. I'm saying, and whatever those times are or the dates are, I say let's do it, man. Let's do it again.
Yeah. Let's plan on it, and we'll get some special guest analysts that know a hell of a lot more than me that come on here. And George, you've got a special. You and JT have got something going on tomorrow morning. Why don't you pitch that a little bit?
Yeah, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, we're doing a national championship preview. So, of course, we're going to be talking Alabama versus Ohio State and cover that. It's going to be great. We'll spend about an hour on again, but we got a very special guest in Ryan Fowler, who is on the radio there in Tuscaloosa as well. So he knows all the scoop. We get a chance to be with him on the Alabama cruise, and we're able to do that. And things. So we're really, really looking forward to this and talking Alabama football tomorrow. So y'all tune in. We'll keep tweeting it out and putting it on Instagram, Facebook, and everything else. But it'll be on all the same channels. Just come on in and check us out.
And by the way, it just occurred to me, this ring that I was showing off here, this Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl replica ring from 1995, this is the Larry Brown edition because, of course, he was the MVP. You can get one of these rings right here. I just realized I have it behind me.
Yes, sir.
Cowboy House, 214-551-5978 or cowboyhousesports.com. They've got all of the sports memorabilia, Cowboys, Alabama, the George Teague stuff they can get for you. So you guys go check those boys out. We appreciate their support here on Teague's Take. We're going to wrap it up now because the games are about to start. Everybody enjoy Wildcard Weekend. George, I will talk to you soon. And hope your family has a great weekend. Enjoy those mimosas that are sitting there getting warm because I hadn't even seen you take a sip of one since before the show started.
What are you talking about? This is my second glass, boss.
Oh, there you go. See, I was just paying that close attention. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Take care.